Hello dear viewers and welcome back to the review program. This episode will be special from Samarkand, where the 9th annual meeting of Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank is held for the first time in Central Asia. The event served as a platform to promote open dialogue among the Aiib'S Board of Governors and enable the bank to gain insights and direction from its shareholders regarding the bank's strategic cooperation and future operations. But before we dive deep into the details of the meeting, let's first talk about the bank and its background. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank is a multilateral development bank whose mission is financing the infrastructure for tomorrow in Asia and beyond. Infrastructure with sustainability at its core. The bank began operation in Beijing in 2016 and has since grown to 109 approved members worldwide. It's capitalized at $100 billion. Now let's move on to the Aiib'S annual meeting in Samarkand. The event welcomed over 2,500 delegates from 100 countries, including influential policymakers, senior leaders from international organizations, business executives, and investment experts. This milestone gathering served as a platform for addressing the future of sustainable and resilient infrastructure development globally. Over the course of 2 days, more than 30 sessions were held, focusing on pressing issues such as transportation connectivity, road infrastructure, green transition, renewable energy, and modern communication systems. The event promoted cross-border connectivity, with the experts delving into successful case studies and innovative approach to investment instruments in capital markets. Private sector involvement was one of the key topics, as Aiib'S experts and key clients shared insights on using advanced financial tools to mobilize private capital for infrastructure development. A major highlight of the event was Uzbekistan's prominent role, not just as the host nation, but as a crucial partner for Aiib'S. On September 25th, the President Shavkat Mirziyoyev and Aiib'S President Jin Likun headlined the opening ceremony.
President Shavkat Mirziyoyev attended the inaugural session of the 9th annual meeting of the Board of Governors of Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank held in Samarkand. The main theme of the summit, building sustainable infrastructure for all. The agenda included pressing issues in the global economy and finance, as well as strategic programs and plans for the infrastructure development in Asia and other regions of the world. The head of state delivered a welcoming speech. This annual meeting of the Board of Governors of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank is being held in our region for the first time. We view the choice of Uzbekistan as a vivid example of the highest level of our cooperation based on mutual respect and trust, Shavkat Mirziyoyev said. The leader of Uzbekistan emphasized that the current geopolitical situation in the world remains complex, with increasing instability in the global economy, shortages of food and energy resources, and worsening environmental issues. A quarter of the world's population faces challenges in accessing clean drinking water. About 800 million people live in extreme poverty. Traditional logistics supply chains are disrupted, leading to rising costs on raw materials and consumer goods. All this significantly increases the burden of the infrastructure and poses obstacles to economic development. By 2030, the world will need $15 trillion in investments to create new infrastructure, while foreign investment flow has decreased by 10% annually over the past 2 years, and financial resources have doubled in cost. In this context, the role of international financial organizations is becoming increasingly important. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, with a current project portfolio of $55 billion, has quickly become one of the leading financial institutions. The head of state specifically addressed the irreversible reforms and transformation underway in Uzbekistan. Particular attention is being paid to economic liberalization and improving the living standards and incomes of the population. Priority areas for cooperation within the international financial institutions, including Aiib'S, in achieving these goals were outlined. This primarily involves implementing a multi-dimensional poverty reduction program through active support for entrepreneurship, creating new jobs, increasing sources of income, expanding access to quality education and healthcare, improving housing conditions, enhancing social protection, and developing infrastructure network in remote areas. As a promising area of cooperation, the development of human capital project was proposed. Given the main theme of the forum, the head of state highlighted the extreme experience of collaboration within the international financial organizations in creating sustainable infrastructure. Uzbekistan has adopted a program to implement public-private partnership projects worth $30 billion by 2030. In particular, projects for the construction of toll roads connecting Tashkent, Samarkand, and Tashkent-Andijan, high-speed rail connections between Tashkent, Samarkand, and Samarkand-Navai, Bukhara, modernization of 6 international airports, and other important projects will be implemented. Collaboration with the Aiib'S has begun on the developing medium-sized cities and improving infrastructure in rural areas. Another priority area identified in the accelerated development of a green economy. Uzbekistan aims to increase the share of green energy to 40% by 2030. Plans for the coming years include construction of solar, wind, and hydroelectric power stations, as well as related infrastructure and networks. Large green data centers are also planned. Additionally, a market for green certificates will be established based on the renewable energy sources. The head of state separately noted the significant efforts aimed at transforming Central Asia into a major exporter of green energy. One example is the construction of the Trans-Caspian Energy Bridge. It was proposed to implement a green energy development program in Central Asia in partnership with the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Attention was also drawn to the growing need for large regional infrastructure projects. A striking example is the construction of the railway connecting China, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. In Central Asia, issues of food security and water resource shortages are becoming particularly acute. The country's leader proposed the organization of regional center for the widespread implementation of water-saving technologies in cooperation with the Aiib'S. The president highly assessed the contribution of the bank to Uzbekistan's achievement of sustainable development goals. Today, the portfolio of joint projects exceeds $3 billion, covering infrastructure, energy, transport, water supply, and support for the private sector. An agreement has been reached to implement an updated program worth $4 billion.
We are so proud and so happy to see the huge reform, done in Uzbekistan under the leadership of His Excellency the President. We see a huge transformation, and we believe, Uzbekistan offer an excellent opportunities for investment and for trade cooperation. So, Qatar and Uzbekistan has a very special relationship. His Highness the Emir visited Uzbekistan twice last year, and this shows, and we signed a strategic partnership agreement, which is first of its kind in the region. So we look forward to implement, this relationship and move forward.
How important is it for UNDP to be part of such events?
It is very important because for us, inequality and the social justice is a big issue, and more climate change impact is happening everywhere in in Uzbekistan, but also globally. There is a danger of increasing vulnerability to the people who may be poor, who may not be able to effectively respond to the changes which are happening.
As part of the Aiib'S 9th annual meeting, President of the bank Jin Li-kun attended the press conference, where local and international journalists had a chance to engage in conversation with him. During the meeting, he talked about bank's operations and pointed out the bank's green and sustainable projects in Uzbekistan.
Solar panel power plant master. This is I think it's a very good example of how we can work together to promote green economy. This is 240 megawatt solar power generation. It could provide steady electricity to 264,000 households. And it can also save 270,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide annually. And I talked to the managers, and they are very ambitious, trying to do more in this regard. And also, we are working on the rooftop energy, the solar power plants. So renewables and improving the power transmission is also very important. We think building the power plants, wind power, solar, certainly is good. But you have to transmit all those powers to populated areas by building smart power grid. Second issue.
He also mentioned that when building hydropower plants, it is important to make sure that biodiversity is not destroyed and people are taken care of. During the press conference, journalists asked several questions that they're interested in. One of them was on bank's plans to accelerate green transition.
My question is, what goals does the bank have for acceleration of green transition, and how does it plan to do it?
By 2025, at least 50% of the financing would be for climate change. We achieved that 2 years ago. The financing for climate change mitigation adaptation now accounts for 68% of the total financing. So this is the concrete steps we take to improve the financing for climate change and to deal with the consequences of climate change.
In his closing remarks, he touched upon the importance of further collaboration, stating that the progress we have seen so far is just the beginning. Central Asia has enormous potential, and through our cooperation, we will create new opportunities for growth, sustainability, and prosperity. Since the Aiib'S inception, over $3.1 billion has been invested in Uzbekistan's infrastructure projects, showcasing the country's rapid transformation. In early 2024, this partnership deepened, further the signing of a 3-year agreement that will unlock an additional $2.6 billion for projects. Two dynamic panel discussions united by a general theme, New Uzbekistan, a great country with great opportunities, spotlighted the country's growing economic potential and attractiveness for foreign investment. Participants underscored Uzbekistan's unique position as a gateway to Central Asia, with its strategic geographic location and ambitious economic reforms, making it a top investment destination in the region. The second day of the event was even more engaging, including various sessions that mostly focused on Uzbekistan. One of the outstanding events was a public seminar, New Uzbekistan, Big Country with Big Opportunities, where participants discussed the investment attractiveness of the country. Lazes Kudratov, Minister of Investment, Industry and Trade of Uzbekistan, opened the event with his speech, highlighting the country's economic growth in recent years.
Uzbekistan's GDP grew by 6%. And in just the first half of 2024, we accelerated to 6.4. Our foreign trade surged by 25% last year, with an additional 8.5% growth this year. Foreign direct investment has been equally remarkable. From just 3.3 billion in 2018, FDI soared to 22.4 billion in 2023, primarily in energy, infrastructure, and technology sectors.
Our greatest asset lies in our people, Kudratov added, noting that 60% of Uzbekistan's population is under the age of 30, creating a young, dynamic and educated workforce ready to lead the industries of the future. This annual meeting created a great opportunity for Uzbekistan to demonstrate its achievements in economy.
The 9th annual meeting held in Samarkand, Uzbekistan was an astounding success thanks to the meticulous preparation by the Uzbekistan government, particularly Minister Kudratov and his team did a wonderful job. And I had a very good meeting with His Excellency President Mirziyoyev yesterday, and we committed to him that we would continue to support Uzbekistan and his strong leadership and to promote his reform program. So we have already $3.1 billion for 15 projects being under construction, and we have also more than $2 billion in the pipeline. And we committed $2 more billion over the next 3 to 5 years, and we should provide at least $4 billion for Uzbek's development, but our cooperation will go on and more resources will be coming.
To date, the Aiib'S has provided financing for certain projects in Uzbekistan, including in the field of green energy, waste and sewage management and sustainable financing, totaling more than $2 billion. The main goal of this panel session is to show the extent to which economic reforms aimed at attracting foreign investments have been carried out in Uzbekistan in the last 7 years and what results have been achieved. The last results of such reforms carried out in the country are highly appreciated by experts. If you look at the numbers, in 2017, $3 billion of foreign investment were attracted, and according to the results of the last year, this figure reached almost $23 billion. Overall, the event provided information on the steps that Uzbekistan has been taking to improve the economy. A significant outcome of the annual meeting was the signing of a series of strategic agreements, including partnerships focused on renewable energies. They were the MOU between the ACCO and the government of Uzbekistan, loan agreement signing with Asaka Bank, and the ones on road connectivity.
So in order to analyze that, we have a guest, a specialist in transport from the bank. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for dedicating your time for us.
Good afternoon. Very nice to meet you and very happy to be here.
Let's talk about the infrastructure development and green development.
Right.
Many think that this is different, these are different terms, but yesterday the president of the bank said that when these two are together, this is where the development starts.
Right.
What do you think on that?
Right. Actually, I just came back from a session. I think your Vice Minister of Finance, Mr. Kashipayev, attended.
Yeah.
I would like to actually quote him. I think he's giving a great quote. He said when he was a student, He thought like those green technologies, climate-sensitive approaches, only working for developed countries, but not for emerging economies because they might be too expensive. But nowadays, it is already a luxury not to consider them. And taking my project experience, for example, I've been working in the bank for 6 years, operating in multiple countries. I've been working in Uzbekistan for the past 5 years. I also discovered that many of those green or climate-sensitive standards or technologies, number one, they are already integrated into the national standards. So for example, right now in Uzbekistan, I'm working on a local roads project in the Republic of Kazakhstan and Horizon region. And we just had a very good discussion with the local design institute, the National Design Institute, on how we can incorporate those climate resilience measures into the road design. And we discovered that it's actually a lot of those measures are already in the National Design Code. So meaning it's already there. That's point number one. Number two is previously we always thought when we are mobilizing private capital, you think this is going to add cost. Being green will actually increase the cost. And I'm telling you that's wrong now. Actually, being green in many cases meaning efficiency, meaning saving cost. So I give you another example, like in China, we are doing a green logistic park project. And over there, if you are a green standard, then you can have the client, for example, like Louis Vuitton, like Nike, because the whole supply chain for these big names, it needs to be green, it needs to be sustainable. So if you don't keep up with this green trend, meaning you'll be discarded by the market, you won't be able to attract good tenants, right? So I think the second lesson we learned, and actually we see in the industry, is that there has been a very mature and closed loop commercial logic behind being green and behind climate sensitive. So these are the two things I would like to share.
Yesterday, actually, on the boards of the annual meeting, there was a session called Investing into Resilient Roads.
Yes.
What were some of the significant highlights that you took there and solutions that were proposed?
Right. So I happen to be the organizer of that seminar, and I'm also serving as one of the panelists of that event. So first of all, I would like to give my gratitude to His Excellency Deputy Minister of Transport, Mr. Shariev, to be there, and also the chairman of road committee of this country, Mr. Tursunov. They actually gave a very good sharing during that event. I think a few takeaways. Number one is the role of MDB. I feel like, for example, in this country, Uzbekistan does not lack capacity. It does not lack knowledge either. So I think the role we are playing is actually to bring everybody together on the same table. For example, in my project, usually we bring the climate consultants, the design institute, the government, and the contractor all together and to discuss how we can enhance the climate resilience in our project. And that's the role exactly we play, because without MDB project, it's very rare for them to meet each other and to be on the same page. That's number one. Number two is on technology. Yesterday, I think we also demonstrated one of the digital geospatial platform we are going to deploy for the local road project in Kazakhstan and Horizon. It will actually provide an integrated tool, visualized, for the government to use to monitor the construction progress, to assess the climate vulnerability. So it's very useful to look at the technology and to harness the power of technology. I think number three is on, when we talk about climate resilience, let's not forget the social resilience. So in Aiib'S project right now, I see more and more projects are integrating gender-sensitive components and elements in it. Like for many of my projects, also in Uzbekistan, for example, we will have a component under the loan dedicated for youth, for example, vocational training, awareness for climate and traffic safety, or women's economic empowerment. So those are actually another side of resilience that I would like to highlight.
Yesterday at the press conference, the President said that due to the geographical position of Central Asian region, connectivity is the very actual problem and issue that remains and discussed in every summit. What do you propose in regards to this connectivity issue? Maybe there are any suggestions from your side?
Right. I think many exciting things are happening right now in this part of the world. And I think for thousands of years, Central Asia has been at the crossroad connecting different continents and has been playing this very vital role. I would like to bring to the basics. We are building connectivity not for the infrastructure itself. We are building connectivity for trade and knowledge dissemination. So we should always not forget that very basic point on how the trade are flowing, what are the new trading patterns, especially given today's the new technology emerging. So I think a few opportunities that we would like to further explore in Uzbekistan in particular is number one, the logistics sector, which carries a very strong private capital mobilization initiatives. I think another one is aviation. We'll be very keen to discover together with the government. And of course, the fundamentals are still the rail and the road, and there are still a big space for us to play a role.
Are there any specific projects or portfolios in this regard proposed for now?
Yes, we are very happy that together with the Ministry of Investment, MIIT, Aib is now having a 3-year rolling investment program with the government. So it's a 3-year program. And so basically we have the visual of what's coming in the coming 3 years. And this program covers both water, energy, transport, many sectors. So I think that's a very good dialogue that we are developing with the government.
The meeting concluded with a ceremonial handover of the host country to China, announcing the bank's 10th annual meeting will be held in Beijing in June 2025. This annual meeting created great opportunity for Uzbekistan to showcase its economic potential and further develop economy sector in the future. These were the main highlights for this episode. Thank you for watching and don't miss review program every Sunday on Uzreport TV.